It's every Wednesday except for one Wednesday out of the month starting next month where they have to stage a regular dismissal. That's called our club day.
Oh,
So
cool.
we're doing clubs.
Nice. I mean, I think it's helpful, especially with like grade-wide planning, which it seems like that's what you guys use the time for.
No.
No?
I'm supposed to.
Well, in theory.
I will later on.
In theory, yes.
Really use it.
All right. Well, first time on the walkie. What did you learn from the walkie today?
I learned that it is super distracting to have a walkie and students talking, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones. So it gets very, I learned how to multitask and listen to everyone.
So what I'm hearing you say is it was a little bit distracting for you because, yes, there was stuff going on in your ear and you still needed an awareness of what was happening in your classroom.
Yes.
The good news is that practice creates normalcy.
Yep.
So it was the first time, so it's not surprising that it was distracting and that it was jarring. Hopefully, the more we do it over the next couple of weeks, the more normalized it'll be. And also, the goal is to have the cues become less and less verbal to scaffold you to just hear a click and then to look and then know what needs to happen next. So that's something that you can look forward to. It will become less verbal as you increase the habits and skills necessary for what needs to happen in your classroom. Excuse me. What's one positive thing that you noticed happening with your students as a result of coaching?
I noticed that they actually become quiet when you actually start.
Oh, how did you get them there?
You actually are really highlighting the good behavior as opposed to bad behavior.
And how are you doing that?
How was I doing?
How are you highlighting and making it visible and audible for your kids that you were recognizing positive choices?
Oh, just when you say, well, I see Tommy, I see Taylor, they're all doing their due now. They're silently doing it, they're still in their seats. So.
Yes. So what I'm hearing you say is when you focus on narrating the expectations, your students respond positively. Students want to be recognized in positive ways, so the more you keep doing that, the more students will also engage in the expectation that you're setting for them. What is that making you think moving forward? What are you going to continue to do tomorrow in your classroom as a result?
So I'm definitely going to do what I said before, as far as having the teams, and basically the teams have different incentives for that, and basically give them points every time they are doing exactly what I told them to do, and then saying, well, this team gets a point because they are still sitting down.
Yes.
This team gets points because they are required to do what they do now.
Yes.
So it makes it more authentic for me without having to be like, well, I have to say it like this because they want me to say it like that. So.
Yep. So what I'm hearing you say is you shifted even from our coaching experience into your next class into making narration work for your style of teaching and your kids as well. And as a result, kids were meeting your expectations. And another thing that's really, it's always helpful in middle school and high school is making it a competition. So even though it's not a competition, but even having different teams gives that feeling of competitiveness where kids are then holding not only themselves but each other accountable. So that's really strong. So keep doing that for sure tomorrow. And we can talk more about how the teams are earning the points as well as what they're working towards earning in our pre-conference. But that's really strong to hear you say that you noticed that and the shift that came as a result of the work that happened. One of the things that I noticed that was really strong was your highest % of students engaged in on task was right after you reset the class with a strong countdown and followed it up with narration. So at that point, after you did that, 87% of your kids, or 20 out of your 23 kids, responded and were with you right away. What did you do when you reset the class that allowed your kids to be that engaged?
I feel like I reset a lot of times. So it's really hard. I'm thinking, alright, when I count down, I know in between the countdown I'm saying this row, this person, this person, and then I feel like that gets them focused. And then as soon as I say, alright, these are instructions, then I start, highlighting once again. I see that you're doing something positive, I see that you're doing something positive.
Yep. So when you did that, your directions were super clear and super strong, right? You said, silent eyes on me from your seat in 5, narrate, 4, narrate, 3, narrate 2, narrate 1, right? So your directions were really clear, you were following through with consistent narration, and as a result, almost 100% of your kids were right there with you. What does that make you think you need to work on in order to make sure that that amount of clarity is happening more consistently in your classroom?
Clarity as in instruction, or clarity as in them staying on task? Like
Your instruction, right?
I would say definitely making sure that it is clear what I want them to do, and being concise. I feel like that's sometimes where I get jumbled up. As you notice, I venture off as I'm giving directions to start doing something I don't like, so I jump on there as opposed to finishing up.
Yeah.
So it's more concise and it's actually complete.
Exactly. Yep. So what I'm hearing you say, which is exactly aligned to the homework that you're going to be assigned for next time, is firming up concise, clear MVP directions so that they have all 3 of those components: the movement, the verbal, and the participation. And if you do that and then you narrate, you should be pushing more into that 80% or higher all the time, because you're giving kids the opportunity to hear a clear direction, affirming them with the narration, and then, if necessary, delivering the consequences that are aligned or to the actions that they're doing that are either not what the direction was or positively rewarding them because they did meet that. So one set of data that I have is when you were narrating, you used the word I have 14 times. When you say things like I have or I see, what do you think your kids understand that as?
I guess it's being more personal. Mrs. Jones focusing on this person, Mrs. Jones looking at this person.
So if I'm a student who doesn't get narrated, how do you think that makes me feel?
As if I'm not paying attention to them.
Right, because when you use words like I have or I see, it's almost like you're acknowledging the person or not acknowledging the person instead of just the behavior. And so when you leave out words like I have or I see, it becomes less personal and it just becomes more observant. And in order for kids to have a more objective classroom where they feel like they are like having an equal chance and there's equity, leaving out those words are really important. So what do you think you can do to try to break the habit of having the I language in your narration and in your directions?
Honestly, I would have to think and wait as opposed to instantaneously narrate. And as soon as you say narrate, my first reaction is I. So if it becomes, I guess, more natural, then it'll be more fluid as far as the correct way, as opposed to how I'm used to saying certain things. So it'll be I.
Yep. So just taking a pause. That's a really insightful reflection and something you can easily do, right? Like 1/2 second or 1 full second pause for you to think in your head. Name first, is, action could make the difference between how students feel when they either are acknowledged or aren't acknowledged through narration. Why do you think it's important for students to hear narration that isn't I teacher-centered?
When it's not teacher-centered, it makes it, as you said, just like you said, it makes it more objective. For the students feel as if they have more opportunity to get narrated, and that it's not because I don't like them, but because the other person I like more. Yep,
and it helps kids own the class and their behaviors more. When you take yourself out of narration and out of the directions by letting go of the I, now it becomes, again, a more student-focused classroom instead of you all are doing this for me, it's because of me that this is happening. It creates a more student-owned, student-empowered classroom. So dropping the I seems like a simple thing or a small thing, but it's really important for student empowerment, as well as making it a more objective versus more like he's not noticing me or he is noticing me. So that's a quick shift that you can make. But in order for you to narrate strongly, what needs to happen first? Before narration can even happen, what needs to come first?
I have to like it, honestly.
Pardon?
I have to like it.
Right, you have to buy into it.
I don't like it.
But even before you have to buy into it, before you can narrate what students are doing, what do you need to do?
First have students doing it.
Right.
Which is what my issue was earlier, like there, hey narrate, there's nobody here, nobody's doing it.
And why don't you think you had students there?
So the issue was I felt like they were getting lost in what was going on. They was getting lost in the direction, lost in what the question was saying, and they're just looking like, what is this question?
Yes.
And from there, it's like, all right, so I had to restate it. We had to restate it. Give an example, then I had to restate it.
Yep.
Then I was like, okay, maybe somebody was still.
So what I'm hearing you say is a reflection both on like your instructional planning as well as what could have happened in the moment. And I think both are strong reflections. The thing that you can do right away to create less confusion for kids is give clear directions, ones that you've thought about in advance and that you've scripted out. Because if you have that like already done, that's one less thing you have to be thinking about and